Okay, so let's get into my results and what I found. So I decided to do this for a full month. I figured, just based on decades of trying different things when it comes to weight loss and dieting and exercise and all that stuff, I know anything you see in a week is probably to be taken with a grain of salt. Oftentimes it's water weight that you'll see when you first start any kind of a new plan. In my personal experience, it's always like that first week you'll see like kind of your biggest drop, and then after that it will be a little bit less significant or substantial week to week, depending on if you are tracking your progress week to week. Now, normally I do not do that because I usually track it every couple weeks, but since I was only doing this for a month, I did track every week. Um, like I said, I just thought, why not give it a try, give it a full month, and see what happens after doing this for a full month. So before I go into the results, just to clarify my usual routine and my nutrition, because that's also relevant to this. I think there's a big difference in doing this in isolation and not exercising and not changing your diet versus if you're doing a lot of the same things I'm going to share with you that I do, it's going to yield different results. That being said, the three creators I came across, I think only one of them mentioned that she also exercises and watches what she eats. The male guy, the guy that I saw that did a video about it, was joking about how he does not do those things. He does not want to do those things. And he got results as well. So my general routine every day, if you've been following me for some time, you know that I am big on health and fitness. That's obviously a huge component of what I talk about in this podcast and on my blog. So my general routine, I exercise 90 minutes plus every day. Not every, sometimes it's just 90 minutes, other times it's a little bit more depending on what's going on, how much time I have, how much energy I have. So my workout routine includes weightlifting, and then I also do some form of cardio, usually cardio kickboxing, just because that's my favorite form of cardio. Sometimes it's just walking, or some other type of workout video that I like, that I find enjoyable. I also follow an intuitive whole food eating approach, meaning it's a balanced diet of lean protein, fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, emphasizing complex carbohydrates, meaning higher amount of fiber per serving compared to more simple carbohydrates, let's say. And then, of course, beneficial fat. So that's generally how I eat. I cook at home for most of the meals that we have. I really try to minimize the amount of highly processed foods. It's not to say we don't eat any processed foods, but I really try to keep it to a minimum. I try to prioritize, fewer ingredients, or at least ingredients I can pronounce and recognize. In the things that we get, maybe in the middle of the aisles in the grocery store, middle part of the grocery store, let's say. So that's just what I do. That's my approach. That's what I have for my nutrition and my exercise routine. So that's what I'm doing day to day as I added this rice water to what I'm already doing. I also usually, the intuitive part of the eating approach is that I'm generally following my appetite. So eating to satiation, eating when I feel hungry, kind of following my body's hunger cues and satiation cues. That being said, in recent months, I have been combining this nutritional approach I just described with macro tracking because I've been stuck, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. So I'm trying to get myself unstuck and moving in the direction I want to go again. So all that being said, again, I just want to be really clear about that. It's not like I'm not working out and following good nutrition while I'm also giving this rice water a try. I do think that that would have an impact on potential results. So my conclusion after doing this for 30 days with everything I just described is that it is probably more of a placebo effect than anything else that these folks have seen, at least the ones that I came across that shared on TikTok. For one thing, I gained about 2 pounds for every week that I did this, which I take with a grain of salt since I know the scale is only part of the picture, and I've come to just kind of dismiss what the scale says in general because, as I've talked about in other podcast episodes, You really need to look at more than just the scale. You need to look at things like how your clothes fit, your body measurements, pictures, and track your progress over time with those other things in addition to the scale, because the scale in and of itself is a very crappy measure of like your progress with weight loss. So all that aside, that is what I saw as I was doing this for the 4 weeks that I did it. Now, while the scale went up the first week and subsequent weeks, actually, what's interesting is I did lose about 6 inches across all of my body measurements. So, like, you know, you measure like all the different parts of your body, and you add up your changes across all of those. So that resulted in a net loss of 6 inches over my whole, all of my body measurements collectively. But that was it. Then it stopped. So my measurements remained exactly the same from week 2 to week 4. And that's it. And except the scale did keep going up 2 pounds every week. So that's weird. Like my measurements didn't move further, but the scale went up about 2 pounds every week. I don't know why. I really don't attribute that to the rice water. This is something that's kind of been the story of my life since I've been old enough to be aware of my weight, and tracking it and all of that kind of stuff. One thing that I've learned is that my body does tend to seem resistant to weight loss, and I'm pretty sure that a fair amount of that has to do with, you know, my past decades of extremes in dieting and exercise, which is why one of the other reasons I talk about all of these things in this podcast to try to help you avoid those same pitfalls that I've learned the hard way from different fad diets and extremes, like I mentioned. And I share a lot about that on here. So it's also worth noting that while the scale didn't change, I did see a decrease in my body measurements, like I said. So there may have been some sort of a boost that the rice water had, albeit small. I just don't know that it's really worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze, let's say. So based on my results, I would conclude it's more trouble than it's worth. There's probably better things you can do with your rice. I do not intend to continue doing this. I have since stopped now that I've passed my 30-day mark. However, if you are interested in trying it for yourself, I will quickly recap the potential health benefits of drinking rice water that I did find when I was researching this for the first episode I did on this. And I'm not going to go into these in depth like I did in that episode, but I'll just recap the main benefits I found that the research I did seemed to support. So the first one is that it helps hydrate you, and it also kind of replenishes electrolytes. The second thing is it helps with digestive health, which I do think is probably a lot that it has a lot to do with some of the benefits these other folks have seen. It sort of seems to have like a pre or probiotic effect to it based on what I came across in the research. It's also high in antioxidants and vitamin C because of the lemon and lime juice, depending on what you're using, but they both have pretty much the same amounts of each. And potentially weight loss support. Now, there was different things about this. It has soluble fibers in it, and that is one of those is one that can potentially aid in helping you feel full longer. It's called oligosaccharides. So that's one of the things about it. There was also some studies that showed rice water might aid in weight loss due to inositol, which is a compound that the rice water has that may help with regulating your metabolism and improving insulin sensitivity. So that could be why people that are seeing the results. I mean, they jokingly call it rice Ozempic, but it's kind of interesting that that's the term they came up with, because that is Ozempic. It's kind of a play on that name, but that is a drug that's used for people that have diabetes, to help with managing that, and insulin sensitivity is a big factor in diabetes. So there may be something to it for that. I don't know, but that is one of the things I came across in looking at the research. And then it's also got ties to uses in other cultures, as I mentioned, and because of healing properties and other potential benefits in that regard.